This is a historic moment.
In a major political win for Kyiv, European Union leaders agreed on Thursday to start membership talks with Ukraine. EU diplomats and officials said it was unexpected and that the green light came as Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who had for weeks said he would block a deal, agreed to leave the room knowing the vote would go ahead. Such an unusual way to approve a decision, especially such a major one, is unheard of in Brussels. Orban confirmed that he had abstained from the vote on what he called a bad decision.
Mr. Orban was very well aware of the decision that was going to be made.
Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo.
The message that is given is a very clear message. We are on the side of the Ukrainians who are fighting for our freedom, who are fighting for respect of their country. And the message to Moscow is also a very clear one. We will not be intimidated. The European unity is there, and we are on the side of the Ukrainians, even at the most difficult moments.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomed the move in a social media post, writing, "History is made by those who don't get tired of fighting for freedom." The European Council also decided on Thursday to open accession negotiations with Moldova, grant EU candidate status to Georgia, and also advance a bid by another hopeful, Bosnia and Herzegovina. For Ukraine, the talks themselves are likely to take years. The decision comes at a time when Ukraine's counteroffensive against Russia's invasion has failed to make major gains, and U.S. military aid has become more uncertain.
Well, I think in fairness to Victor, he'll speak for himself and won't be shy in doing so. So I imagine he'll explain the rationale behind his decision. But certainly his view was that he did his best to convince the 26 member states that this wasn't the right course of action, that we needed a strategic discussion on what the end game, if you like, is going to be with regard to the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. But that if the 26 firmly held this view, he wasn't going to block it and wasn't going to be the one to block what was the will of 26 member states, but I really think it's for him to explain it rather than me speaking for him.
Jsou to důležitá rozhodnutí, je to důležitý signál ze strany Evropské unie a je velmi dobré, že v těchto těžkých chvílích pro Ukrajinu, pro Moldavsko Evropská unie tímto způsobem jasně dává najevo, že má o tyto země zájem a že nás zajímá i jejich budoucnost.
Well, what I heard indeed is that he was going to use his veto right. What I see is that he did not use his veto right, and the decision in the Council is always a decision which is made in consensus. The importance is what have we decided, what will it lead to? What it will lead to is that the discussions will start on Monday with Ukraine. Now, what are the thoughts that people had around the table? In the end, it's not important. What is important is that a decision has been made and it binds 27 countries.
The special day, and this day will go down in our history, whether it's good or bad for us. History will capture everything, and every word, every step, every action and inaction, who fought for what. And it's very important that Europe doesn't fall back into indecision today. Nobody wants Europe to be seen as untrustworthy or as unable to take decisions it prepared itself. Dear colleagues, today is the day when determination will either be in Brussels or Moscow. People in Europe will not understand if Putin's satisfied smile becomes the reward for a meeting in Brussels. And I ask you one thing today: do not betray the people and their faith in Europe. If no one believes in Europe, what will keep the European Union alive? People in Europe will not see any benefit if Moscow receives a pass from Brussels in the form of negativity towards Ukraine. Putin will surely use, of course, this against you personally and against all of Europe.
Why we are here is not to make business. It's not about bargain. It's not about deal. We represent approaches and principles. So to give money to Ukraine is easy to do because in short term the money for Ukraine is already in the budget. So there is no any extra decision to give it in short term. In long term and the bigger sum of money, my position is that we should give it outside. But we are not under the pressure of the time because the bridging solution is already in the budget. Enlargement is not a theoretical issue. Enlargement is a merit-based, legally detailed process which has preconditions. We have set up 7 preconditions, and even by the evaluation of the Commission, 3 out of the 7 is not fulfilled. So there is no reason to negotiate membership of Ukraine now, even not to negotiate.
Hungarians, genetically speaking, don't bow to pressure. This doesn't really influence us. We have an opinion and we will stand by that.